The LGBTQ plus community's fight for equality and anti-discrimination has spanned over 2 decades of legal conflicts. While the protection for the community is promised on paper, the Philippines is no stranger to notorious cases of hate crimes and abuse against society.
Although Senate Bill number 689 entitled Anti-Discrimination on the Basis of Sexual Orientation, Gender Identity, and Expression has been proposed, it has not been passed in Congress after almost 2 decades. Now we ask, are people aware of this bill or even aware of the real meaning of SOGI? We hit the streets of Bulacan to find out what people think about this issue.
As we decipher every color,
Every youth.
hello po, aware po ba kayo sa meaning ng SOGI?
Soji? Ano ba yon?
Yes po.
Ay, oo naman! Sobrang aware ko kaya dyan.
Soji? Ay, hindi ko knows yarn.
Yup, may idea naman ako. Oo, syempre, alam ko yan.
Oo, aware naman.
Ano pong idea niyo sa gender equality?
Yung gender equality para sa akin is lahat ng kasarian na meron po tayo dito ay dapat nire-respeto po at isa lang ang tingin sa kanila. Kasi marami sa atin hindi maintindihan ng kasarian ng isang tao at madali natin sila mahusgahan dahil lang po doon.
I mean, para sa akin, gender equality is about doing things without thinking about the gender norms. Di ba nga dati ang expected sa pagiging isang babae manatili lang sa bahay para pagserbisyon yung mga asawa nila na nagtatrabaho. Pero kung titingnan mo naman yung mundo natin ngayon, ang dami ng babae nagtatrabaho sa iba't ibang field ng trabaho. Gets ko naman na gender equality is about giving equal opportunities sa lahat ng gender. Pero kung gagawin na lang babae lahat ng trabaho ng lalaki, sino naman yung papalit sa mga gampanin ng babae?
Para sa akin, gender equality is about giving equal rights not just for men and women but also for other identities. As a part of this Christian country, I believe na there is still a lot of work and efforts to do by the people and the government itself since to achieve this gender equality. But personally, I believe na equity should also be taken into consideration since may mga bagay na both genders cannot do in the what so-called equal treatment. And equal distributions and allocation of needs will be achieved through equity rather than equality.
For me, yung gender equality na yan is yung karapatan ng bawat isa. Mapababae o mapalalaki ka man. Alam mo, tingin ko naman, meron naman talaga nun sa totoo lang. Nang-aabuso na lang yung iba. Tapos yung gusto, idagdag pa parang yung SOGI bill na yan. May equality naman. Huwag na lang sana nila abusuhin.
Equal ba opportunities ng lahat ng gender?
Siguro, ibigay na lang sa kanila yung safe space. But the bill is not really necessary kasi pantay-pantay lang din naman sila.
Sa totoo lang, pantay-pantay naman yung mga opportunities para sa ating lahat. Ang sa akin lang, sana maging kontento na lang sila. Kung di nila kaya yun, sorry na lang, pero mag-adjust na lang sila.
Sa tingin mo, equal ba ang mga opportunities for all genders dito sa bansa?
Obviously, no. Possibly, there are opportunities na pwede ibigay sa kanila since we have anti-discrimination ordinances, but however, it doesn't go deep down. Parang it's more on surface level only eh. That's why we have to fight for the bill to be passed and made into law, not just to protect yung government natin or yung mga employees, but also for the private companies and organization.
In a time of overt gender inequality and misogyny, many people may still have a mix of opinions on topics that revolves around sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression.
The country itself, for example, still is dominated by a very conservative Christian background and now runs under a tyrannical government with a misogynistic leader. Hence, the difficulty to pass laws that would recognize the fundamental rights of every person, regardless of their sex, gender, age, class, status, disability, religion, and political beliefs. Although this might be the case, some people are just confused due to the lack of awareness and proper education on the topic, to the point that an anti-discrimination act is deemed questionable by government officials.
Despite all of this misunderstanding and backlash, however, many forms of support have risen even from religious institutions and groups.
While this is the case in the Philippines, most countries around the world are still living under heteronormative societal norms that not only affect the other sides of the spectrum but also promote toxic masculinity and misogyny. The difference in the Philippines, however, is that countries like Denmark, Finland, and some states in the United States have anti-discrimination laws.
Taiwan, for example, considered as one of the most progressive nations when it comes to gender rights and equality, has legalized gay marriage, which is the first in Asia, ruling that denying marriage rights to same-sex couples is unconstitutional. This provides another scenario in the spectrum of gender equality, which for the past generations have mostly focused on women, since they are also working their way to end gender-based discrimination that they have fallen victim to.
With gender bias undermining our social fabric, we can see that it is not just a human rights issue. It is a tremendous waste of the world's human potential. By denying women equal rights, we deny half of the population chance to live life to its fullest. However, with the rise of women working, they also became more exposed to assaults, threats, or physical attacks, and other gender-based violence than their male counterparts.
Gender-based violence is rooted in gender inequality, the abuse of power and harmful norms. It is a serious violation of human rights and a life-threatening health and protection issue. It is estimated that 1 in 3 women will experience sexual and physical violence in their lifetime. What's more is that this can also happen with diverse sexual orientations and gender identities.
The gender-based discrimination and violence could even be just based on a person's sexual orientation and gender identity. Most of the time, this issue becomes ironic since they mostly come from the words of religious institutions, companies, or even the government, which are supposed to protect the people and not the other way around. This could include same-sex couples not being allowed to marry or getting legally fired just for being themselves. This has also been associated with health concerns as some experience discrimination and is treated differently because of having HIV and AIDS. The lack of information and awareness combined with outdated beliefs leads to people to fear getting HIV and even stigmatizing it.
With all of these things around, international institutions such as the United Nations made the gender equality a part of their sustainable goals that will benefit the global community, as they believe that gender equality is not only a fundamental human right but a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable world. Institutions like the Island of Southeast Asia Network has developed a sexual orientation and a gender identity and expression package that can be applied by organizations that focus on the issue of sexuality and sexual health, as well as by the other organizations that consider this issue is important to be institutionalized in their organizations.
Going back to the Philippines, there is currently no national legislation that will protect LGBTQ individuals from discrimination. This is why the call for the passage of the Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity and Expression, or SOGI bill, has been very controversial, especially with Duterte, a misogynistic leader, still being seated as president. It has long been pending for almost 2 decades, and we need it now more than ever. Without marginalization, everyone will have an equal opportunity and access from education to healthcare to other public services.
The growth of a nation doesn't just revolve on its market and power over other nations. Its priority must be its own people and their well-being, as they are the reason of its progression.
Let's give everyone equal opportunities and uphold equal rights. Acknowledge everyone's identity, as everyone is needed to build a nation.
Ikaw,
Ako,
ako, lahat tayo may karapatan sa mundo.
Regardless of religion,
Status,
age,
sex, at gender.
Itigil ang diskriminasyon.
Tuloy ang laban.